morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Malcolm. It's February 5th, 2025, Wednesday morning. And yeah, we're here live as usual, and we're having our cup of coffee. So thanks for joining me this morning. There's something going on that I just totally did not mention, and that is Black History Month. It's 5 days in, and I just realized that I had not mentioned it. In the podcast. It is relevant. It has a lot of interesting history, and to be an ethnic group that was discriminated against for so long, to have a month with their history really isn't a bad thing. Some people object to it, I guess, and may think it's overkill or, oh, look at me, this type of thing. But I don't know. It's fine. It's good. I like it. It's interesting facts and things you can learn about what happened in history, and I'm always fascinated with stuff that happens in history. So, yeah, let's get our poll started. We got Dashing Womble on here, first one to credit chat. He's Ray in Kansas. How's it going, Ray? Hope somebody said you were in the hospital or something like that. You got to tell me if you're okay. How's everything going? I hope you're well. I haven't seen you on the internet in a while. Let's see. What can we do for our poll this morning? Well, I hope you're alive. If you're not alive, that's going to be really creepy. Somebody's chatting on your behalf. I'm looking up something. All right. Da, 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 da. Whoop. And I'm doing my question today because I'm so ill prepared every morning. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Simple little question. Silly stuff. There's Terry, ready to hit the road. I was looking at our Discord. Yes, we have a Discord for the channel where our viewers can continue to communicate with each other throughout the day. And Ramesh is online saying hi to Terry, who's a trucker, about to hit the road, get his day started. And yeah, he's here as well. Oh my gosh, people said you had died, Ray. I'm glad I didn't hear that. I would have worried about you, my friend. I would have definitely worried about you. But yeah, you hadn't got on the stream or anything in a while. I noticed you hadn't published anything, so I was a little concerned. I sent you a text message. What? Whatever. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm just giving you a hard time, Ray. I didn't expect you to drop everything and text me. But I'm glad you're well. I'm glad you're okay. There's Ramesh. Good morning, Ramesh. How are you today? Hopefully we'll get a response on that. The mystery mug. I think it's going to be an ongoing thing, the mystery mug. I may have to send you another one. I'll probably have to break down and send another one and see what happens. Well, again, I'm glad you're all right. It is Black History Month, and I went on to the History Channel, or History.com. They have a channel on the TV here in the States called History Channel. And it's very fact-based, nothing biased. It just keeps on the facts and stuff, so it's very reputable and trustworthy type site to look at. And if you're a Star Trek fan, I really wasn't a Star Trek fan. I liked Star Wars growing up because my brother liked Star Wars. And a few years ago, just a few years ago, I started watching Star Trek. Now, I'd seen a few episodes in the past, no big deal. But I was watching them in order. And it's interesting, you see things, and you have to realize the original Star Trek came out in the late 60s. So yeah. Still a mystery unsolved. But one of the things on Star Trek that I noticed, and when I'm watching old shows from the 60s and 70s, I take into account, or try to, the atmosphere of the time. So one of the things I did notice was there was an episode, it actually happened this day in 1968. Star Trek aired airs the international kiss heard around the world, where Captain Kirk kissed Black Lady on the show, And I knew right then this was like, this not, would not have been common. This is something completely foreign to everybody. And it made a lot of news at the time. Um, I mean, you just have to be part. If you don't understand, it's just something that wasn't heard of. Definitely wasn't made public or on TV. And I think Star Trek, I may be giving it more credit than it deserves, may have broken that boundary in 1968. So, and then there were other shows that came out in the 70s with interracial couples and stuff that were trying to break the norm, if you will, like the Jeffersons, another TV show from the 70s that was pretty funny, but it had an interracial couple as a neighbor. And I remember as a kid watching that, thought that was kind of strange. Because I grew up in a small town, I just didn't see that kind of thing. It didn't bother me. It just seemed odd. This wasn't the norm. You didn't see it. But it was still a great show. I thought it was hilarious. Shows like that. And but yeah. You go ahead and start watching it, Ramesh. Watch the originals. It came out in the late '60s. Um, it's kind of corny in a way. They're trying to look advanced in technology and stuff, but it's the '60s, and they're trying. I don't know. They tried. It's kind of quirky. Um, you can see the props and how fake they are sometimes, and the scenery and things they were doing. But it was pretty cool. It only lasted, I think, 3 years, and then it went off the air and it came back later. It was ahead of its time. It came out before Star Wars. So, but there's been a lot of movies. The Star Trek movies are really cool. They came out on one of the streaming services for a month, and I was able to watch all the Star Trek movies in 1 month. I think it's like 7 or 8 of them, and that was really cool to watch. But my only gripe with Star Trek is the fact that it's supposed to be so advanced in technology and into the future, traveling light speed, teleporting, this and that and the other. But every time they get hit or get into some kind of conflict, they have to radio down to the engine room and say, you know what, let's divert some power from point A to point B so we can get out of this situation. Why doesn't it automatically do that? why can't it have automation of some kind that would automatically redirect stuff and make things happen on its own? I guess they needed the extra character for the show to give it more dynamic and suspense. But yeah. It just seemed that was the kind of thing that irked me. They had all these controls. You had the captain; he's telling people on the ship what to do, and also other stuff. So it was it's a cool show to watch, cool movie to watch. But yeah, it was kind of cheesy in the fact that they didn't have more automated type things in this so futuristic ship. Even Star Wars, when their shit gets damaged, they're having to struggle to keep it going and all this other stuff. I get it. You want the suspense part of it. I understand. It would be pretty boring if everything was automated and they're like, all right, well, we got all that one. Thanks, computer. And just go on about their business. Mm. But anywho, I haven't watched all the actual Star Treks. The show itself is kind of repetitive in a sense as far as the plot's concerned. You just have to really be interested into the sci-fi type thing to really sit down and watch them all and be really engaged. And I really wasn't that super focused on the aspect of the nerdy part of it as much as I like to be called a nerd sometimes and the things that I do and I'm capable of. So what can I say? Let's look at some other things on here. Da, 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 da. Let's see here. Pioneering black doctor performed successful open heart surgery in 1893. And you can imagine they were sawing off limbs in Civil War and stuff like that because they didn't know how to, the medical practice was very brutal at the time. They didn't have all the antibiotics and things like that. But 1893 doing open heart surgery, that's wild. And then let's see here. There's a couple other little things I thought was kind of cool. Martha Jones becomes first black woman to receive a U.S. patent back in 1868. Misty Copeland becomes America's Ballet Theater's first black principal dancer in 2015. I mean, that's recent. That's pretty recent. That's wild that she was the first, and it's so recent, you know. And the first black woman in space, Mae Jemison, that happened in '92. Um, so you know, there's a lot of firsts, and they're not. A lot of them are kind of current in a sense. Um, but there's a lot of movies that's come out over the past 10, 20 years about the significance of black people in the United States, in America, or even around the world, doing things behind the scenes and not getting any credit for it, you know, that they deserved at the time, and being taken advantage of for their knowledge and abilities, not getting paid as much, not getting the recognition, and things of that nature. But they still did it, you know. They still, you know, fought for their country and did things patriotically, um, and not needing all the praise and glory. You know, they did it just because they love their country and they wanted it to survive. They wanted to have that purpose, which is very honorable and very um, what's the word I'm looking for? Not prestigious. Maybe it is prestigious. I just say honorable. It's very honorable of that person to be able to do all that and not try to get the spotlight for it. You know, they're not doing it for the fame and glory. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do in their mind, to fight for their country and do their part. So, yeah. Now you see all kinds of people in the military that from all walks of life, and some of them are very questionable. I don't know how to put it. Some are very questionable and tried to make it something that it isn't. I don't know. I don't get on with that. But anyway. Oh man. Let's see. I hope you guys like my song. Guess named the song last night. I got a more recent song. I think it came out in 2022, and it was just something that I thought was kind of. I was trying to get something off the wall. Some of the songs I do on them are kind of random, but it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, some are being treated bad because of their skin color. You're right, Ray. You're right. Um, you wouldn't think of that today, really. It's in, you know, growing up in Tennessee in a small town. I was born in '76, and I reference the '80s a lot because that's where I remember most of my stuff. Of course, the '90s too. But growing up in adolescence and things like that in the '80s, um, I only saw. I think there was one black person, no, two black people in my school, and they were super popular. I mean, and didn't think anything of it. You know, you just treated them like regular people. I don't know. I just not a big deal. And there's one person in particular that she had to go through some surgeries and stuff and needed help at school and things like that. Not because of physical ailments and things like that. But she was a very strong person. People respected her and liked her. You know, she didn't play the card or anything like that. I don't know. It's the two people, and then you know, like in the neighborhood I'm in now, it's very diverse. A lot of diversity in the neighborhood now. I like that. I really like having diversity, different people's opinions and outlooks and history and walks of life and things of that nature. You know, I don't want everybody to be cookie cutter the same. That would be boring, you know. uh, Sunita Williams, spacewalking record, International Space Station. She set a new record for the longest spacewalk time by a woman of 62 hours. Wow. You know, my childish mind thinks, how did she go to the bathroom in 62 hours if she's walking in space? They wear diapers. I know they wear these like space diapers or something like that. But yeah. We got somebody new on here, 508 Kev. Says zesty. Well, good morning to you, whoever you are and wherever you may be. Oh, talking about our little podcast we have here in the morning, the Coffee with Malcolm that you joined us on. I had entertained the idea of having a world map so we can start marking off countries people have come and visit us on. And I found this really cool one on Amazon, and it's basically like a lottery ticket. You scratch off the country. It's all one color, like brown, basically. And as you scratch off the country that you're supposed to visit or visited us, it reveals the color of that country, be green, blue, orange, white, something bright. So there's a contrast on it, and you can see the world map, and then it has the little flags for all the countries you can scratch off too, and then we can see all the different people that come visit us on Coffee with Malcolm. We can start opening up these countries and people who visit us. I think it'd be cool interactive part of our little show we got going on here. Keep people together. A lot of different cultures there in London. Yeah, when you're living in a city, and if you're in London or if you're in the States, New York or Los Angeles, big cities, you're going to have diversity. You grow up with that kind of stuff. I get it. But I was like in a really small town in West Tennessee. And Tennessee is redneck country, if you want to call it that. It's southern, yeah, there are black people in Tennessee, but I only saw like two growing up. In like the 18 years of being a kid going to school before I moved out, I only saw like two, maybe three. So it was very unusual, but it didn't like shock me if I saw a black kid or something like that. It was just rare. Scratch off lottery ticket. Exactly. That's the kind of map it is. You just take a little coin. They give you like a guitar pick or something. It was like $15 on Amazon. It's going to be about 18 inches wide, I think, or something like that. It'll work pretty good behind me, and I can go over there and start revealing countries that people have come to visit us. I think it'll be a cool interactive part of the thing. So we're going to make that happen. It's supposed to show up today. I'll get it pinned up. I'll scratch off a few of the countries that our member people come visiting us. We can break it down by states in the United States as well and things like that. So, yeah, it'll be cool to be able to maybe one day have it all revealed, And, it's going to be kind of like an honor system, people joining us. And if they come on new, we'll ask them where they're from, but we really won't tell them why. We'll just say, hey, thanks for joining us, where are you from? And then we can make it a big deal. We can celebrate whatever country they're in, and we can scratch that off. Yeah. Well, the world map I'm getting has the United States on it, obviously, but I believe it breaks down the individual states in the United States already. So I'm not scratching off the whole U.S. I should be able to scratch off different states on that map, as well as different countries around the world. So we'll be able to get Kansas in there. We'll get Georgia from me. We'll get other little, and then I think it divides Canada up in territories as well. So for like Abnorm and things like that, we can get his part scratched off. Different people, and you may have to remind me, some people that's been on here, where you're from. I don't remember everybody. Of course, we remember Morocco, thanks to Soraya, who has not joined us this morning, which is fine. There was a Tommy from Slovakia, who used to be one of my first live stream guests, members. He's a moderator. I haven't seen or heard anything from him in ages. I know life has things to do. He lives with he takes care of his mother and things like that. So he's probably he's got better things to do than log in and check in on Coffee with Malcolm. But, still like Ray, we're like a little family. We want to make sure everybody's all right. We get to know each other and things like that. So maybe one day he'll show back up. That's right. And there's Wesley. Wesley's on here. Wesley said he's got a group of old black friends, men. One's 81 years old, others in the 50s and 60s. They watch football, cook, eat, zaza, and drink shots of tequila. And they have a lot of stories to tell. They do, there are a lot of stories to tell. I'm not trying to be stereotypical or anything like that, but they're very good storytellers. They're very passionate about their history, and they're very, they communicate more than you would see. It's a different culture altogether, regardless of what city you grew up in and people I've run into. They're very family oriented, more so. They're very involved. They're very opinionated. They really want to have their voice heard. It's just, and that's great. There's nothing wrong. It's just different than than I would act. I guess I'm more reserved, except when I get on the camera. So, but anywho, it's very cool. We'll dip in throughout this month of February. We will dip into different things in this day in history and Black History Month. We'll mention a little something each day. I think it's only fair to do so here in the United States. And after all the things they've been through and celebrate the different accomplishments that they have obviously made throughout history. So, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do a couple more tomorrow. The History Channel will be able to give us some stuff. You can follow along on history.com if you want to look up some of these things. And, yeah. We're missing a few other people this morning. Kind of a light crowd for a Wednesday morning. I'm not sure why, but, life goes on. No big deal. So our president here in the United States wants to take over the world, obviously. I don't know how you think about that. He wants to annex Canada, Greenland, turn the Gulf into the Gulf of America. And now he wants to turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East, was his words yesterday on the news. So that's kind of wild. You're in Illinois headed to Indianapolis today? No, I was just I had cereal this morning, so I didn't really do a huge breakfast this morning. I wanted the eggs and hash browns yesterday. I knew it was going to take a little time, and I didn't want to miss my opening of the Coffee with Malcolm, so I brought you guys along. And there's a lot more echo in the dining room than there is in here because I have the foam pads on the wall to reduce the echo, of which we no longer have in here. That's why I like to do my show in here. So we're going to get this other wall painted and spruce up a few other things, widen my backdrop a little bit more, and put the country map, the map of the world up there so we can scratch off countries, all that kind of stuff. Rule the world, Pinky. What are we going to do today? He's wanting to take over the whole world, it seems like, and he's ruffling a lot of feathers. He's getting a lot of people upset. But kind of in his defense, that's what he said he was going to do. I'm not saying I'm against it or for it, but he's like doing not everything, but a lot of stuff he talked about in his campaign, he's actually doing, and it's causing a lot of shock and awe. I mean, whether you agree or not, and I'm not saying one way or the other that I do, I think some of it's silly. They renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Why would you? There's just leave it alone. Why would you want to do that? It makes no sense. Wanting to turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East, and that was a very interesting analogy or quote from him yesterday. That was on the news this morning. He's only 2 weeks in, and they talk about the first 100 days of a president here in the United States. So when a president gets elected, the first 100 days, for whatever reason, is the most active part of the presidency term. And they're just getting in there and they're just doing all kinds of stuff. And every president has a very active first 100 days in office. So it's not unusual. I imagine after the first 100 days, you really get settled into being president of the United States, you get you realize all the different things that are going on in the world, the responsibilities that come with it, and the knowledge that comes with it, and the stress and responsibility that comes with it. I mean, every president, if you look back, look at their picture when their first day of presidency and their last day of presidency, you can see the stress and wear on their bodies, their faces, their hair turns gray. Even Barack Obama's hair turned gray. George W. Bush's hair turned, well, not Trump's because, well, but the stress and everything these presidents is immense. The responsibility is enormous. And I think that some people who come into presidency, I'm not saying they're naive, but they really they may not realize all the behind the scenes stuff that you and I will never ever know about goes on and really wears on them. So yeah, you got this shirt in a different color. Make it. Oh, he wants to have his face on Mount Rushmore. I heard that as well. I don't think that's going to happen. When they did Mount Rushmore, they were able to build the ability of the American people to build these monuments and things throughout the country at that time wasn't as expensive per se, and it wasn't regulated as much either. So when they did Mount Rushmore, They there wasn't like an OSHA slowing it down, as people would say, with all these safety regulations and stuff. People died making that thing, and they didn't even finish it. And then imagine trying to build all the interstates today throughout the country. It'd be impossible. You just couldn't get it done. There'd be too much red tape and controversy. And, in the 50s, when the interstates built, like eminent domain, we're blasting through this thing. We don't care what you got in the way. We're plowing it down, paving it up, and done. It just mowed right through everything. Today, they can't even get power lines put up without an act of Congress, as the cliche may be, to, run some power lines across a certain area without everybody freaking out about a butterfly or something like that flutters in that area. I'm not trying to sound like I want to kill every animal in the world, but the times were different. And like the building of all the skyscrapers in New York, done in the early 1900s. People fell from those buildings left and right building the Empire State's Building stuff. And they built them in like just a few months. It was insanely fast. But people had a passion and a drive to get that type of stuff done, and they were getting paid, and there just really isn't anything to hold them back. There wasn't anything, something to slow them down. They just did it. And now it takes a decade to build a building, skyscraper. It's just like, yeah, if you're in a big city and you see a skyscraper being built, you're going to be watching that thing for 5 years getting built. How fast did the Empire State Building get built? Let's see here. How long did it take to get the Empire State Building built? 1 year, 45 days. It took them only just a little over a year to build the Empire State Building, which is still standing today and fully functional. So they started in 1930. And 31. Then you had, of course, the 30s were the Great Depression. You had all these government jobs and incentives to try to keep the economy going and building and creating jobs. So a lot of money was just thrown into these things. We can keep going on for that. We were in the gold reserve. We didn't have the Federal Reserve printing money. It was based on the gold standard. But all that kind of good stuff, too. So Terry's house, when he goes to California and Vegas, took the Hoover Dam. It'd be out on ropes hanging off the side. Yeah, it's like people swinging off ropes, lighting a fuse to blast the rocket, like kick it off and letting it happen, or whatever. You would never see anything like that today. Never. It would take them all day to do one blast off the side of a rock. And they're probably doing that multiple. The railroads going through the country and stuff. And of course, a lot of stuff before then, they had slaves to do a lot of that stuff. Free labor. So, before the Civil War, you were able to get those railroads down and stuff cheap. And then they had a lot of immigrants coming in to help build the railroads too. Illegal immigrants coming in from different countries that would work pennies on the dollar to build these infrastructure things like the railroads and stuff. But yeah, we can go on that for hours and hours and hours till the cows come home on all these different things that are so taboo today as far as like immigration and things like that. Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't realize the history of this country and the world, either when it comes to how things were built and made and done that we admire and love to see and enjoy use of every day, and think nothing about it, So he lost a lot of people got out there and just did it. In the modern society and the technology has really changed everything in our landscape as far as people working and work ethic and wanting to get out there and swing a hammer or pick up a shovel versus sitting in front of a keyboard, or something like that. There's still a lot of people out there to do it. And, some of those people we take for granted. Like I was talking about the linemen in the power plant, people, of course you want to give firemen and paramedics and police and first responders their due, but there's a lot of other people that do stuff behind the scenes that make our lives possible every day. And it's hard work if you're a lineman out there on a truck going over there fixing power lines because of a tree falling on it, a storm or something like that, wreaking havoc and keeping the electricity up almost all the time. And So yeah, there's a lot of things like that. But in the 30s and stuff, there was a lot of people were desperate to work, and they needed the work, and the government was like, "Here, I've got work for you, but you're gonna have to climb up that building and hang off by a thread," and they would do it to feed their families. You know. Oh man. But yeah, it's kind of wild. You see those old pictures of the one famous picture of the skyline where all those guys on that steel beam that's jutting out of the building, and they're all just sitting on that steel beam having their lunch on their with their lunch boxes. There's no tethers, there's no straps, ropes, hooks, nets, It's just them guys walking on a beam hundreds of feet off the ground like it's nothing. You know. It's just it's like what the hell, and yeah, I don't know. And they were just all like, yeah, that's what we do. We hang out on top of the building. It'd take too long to go down and come back up. So we bring our lunch boxes and we just sit up here and do our thing. I'd be so terrified. 3 stories up, I wouldn't even want to walk out on the beam. I'd be hugging that thing. There's no way you catch me out at the top of a building walking out on a beam like that and just having lunch. Swinging your feet. Hey guys, how's it going? Stop punching me. I'm going to fall. Sorry, man. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Mm. And people, and it's not that people don't get injured or die doing these jobs today. It's just very less common. It's not as likely because of all the safeties nets that we have in place, regulations and rules and guidelines for building and safety and those type of things, so that we don't have people dying building these things. So it's a good thing. They're afraid of doing the jobs well, these easy jobs. Yeah, drop your lunch pail. Oh gosh, you imagine all the different things that just fell by accident off those buildings? And people down below getting beamed in the head. It's not just falling off the building where they died. People, somebody probably did drop their lunch box. And it was a metal thing, not a little plastic Scooby-Doo box. It was like a hard steel lunch box. Probably had some tools in it or something. People dropping things, and scream heads up down there, and somebody, and they weren't wearing hard hats either, just wearing like baseball caps and stuff. So yeah, rivets and things like that falling from the sky. In 1 year, basically 1 year, build that building. It's just astonishing because of how long it takes today, and people vying for those jobs. People are fighting for those jobs. If you didn't show up for work, you were replaced. So it didn't matter how you were. There were no sick days. You showed up for work and you built that Empire State Building. As an example. Yeah, from the 60 to 4. Can't hear you. What? Pow. I don't know. It'd be just. I couldn't fathom it. I couldn't do it. I would not be that guy up on that building. I would be worthless up there. I would be totally worthless. No EPA about smoke and pollution and all that other stuff. I don't know. It was definitely a different time and age. I mean, I was going down the road a couple days ago and got behind a car that was spitting out smoke, and I was like, "What the hell?" It's like you don't see that much anymore. If a car's like burning oil or something like that going down the road, it's just like, it's almost like a YouTube moment. It's something you would see on TikTok. Look at this car. It's got smoke coming out the back. It's so foreign to see you driving down the road with all the air, emissions and stuff like that. You have to get verified on, but go back in time, in the 80s, you'd see trucks billowing smoke out the back of them, cars all the time. You wouldn't think nothing of it. You just like your parents smoking inside the car, whatever. But it's just an oddity today, Oh yeah, people working in the circus, there were no big nets below to catch them. They're on the high wire. They would just die in front of the crowd if they fell off. And yeah, it was just part of life. We lost another circus guy. Anybody else want to go up? We'll go up. Yay! And then it just... I guess they got paid good, or they just really loved the job. I don't know. I just couldn't imagine. I'm reading comments over here to the side if you're watching. Oh gosh, yeah, kids. There was gosh, I saw a car advertisement from like the 50s or 60s where the back behind the back seat under the back windshield you got that basically like a shelf. Well, they had turned it into a car seat, saying that it's good for your baby to get sunlight, to absorb sunlight. So they actually designed the car to have the car seat in that back part behind the back seat in the window, and it just shows like an upshot down of the baby laying there in the direct sunlight, probably getting burnt to a crisp. Going down the road, so unsafe. Oh gosh, you think about all the people that died in car accidents then. Good gosh. And like my old truck, I'm like, why am I even buckling up? If I get in a crash in this old truck from 1977, I'm done for anyway. I just drive slow here inside town. I don't go anywhere with it really and then buckling up just seems senseless in an old vehicle like that. Because if you see car crashes online, these cars are they're just getting mutilated compared to newer cars. They may be big chunks of steel, but they crumble when they hit something, and the people inside the cab crumble with it. So I don't know. Oh, you laid in the back dash a few times. Yeah, the kids would be just playing and wrestling. Those station wagons where you had the seat facing the rear, and kids would be back there jumping around playing. Oh wow, totally different. Totally different stuff. Let's look at good news today. We'll kind of shift gears here a little bit. I like my Good News Network app. Things that happened on this day on February 5th. Let's go here and look. Talk about that. Finland celebrates every year the birth of its national poet, Johann Ludwig Runeberg, on this day in 1804. Really good poet, I guess. On this day in 1917, Mexico adopted its current constitution, establishing a federal republic with 3 branches of government, and ushered in a profound change that restricted the power of the Catholic Church in establishing the basis for a free, mandatory, secular education. Because a lot of people from Mexico are Catholic, and the church basically ran the country as far as schools and everything else. But in 1917, they changed all that. Oh, in 1924, the Royal Greenwich Observatory began broadcasting the hourly time signals known as the Greenwich time signal in 1924. I got one of those atomic clocks that hang on the wall where it gets that AM signal and makes sure it's not nuclear powered and like that, but it doesn't have uranium in it. It just receives a radio signal. I think it's from Denver, where they have an atomic clock that's supposed to be the most accurate clock. There are a few of them around the world, and by like a nanosecond or something like that. And it sends a signal out, keeps your clock on the wall current as far as the time is concerned. So, yeah. And it's just out there, and if your clock is tuned to it, it'll keep the time current all the time. Squish. Well, hello, Squish. How's it going? I think I remember you, Squish. Where are you from? Tell me again. And there was a nuclear arms control treaty between the U.S. and Russia in 2011, raising the hopes among officials that both sides that it will provide the impetus for Moscow and Washington to negotiate further reductions of nuclear weapons. I don't know. New York. Okay, Squish. It's been a while. That's why I can't remember. But I do remember your name, Squish. What's your real first name? Are you willing to divulge that information for us? I'm not sure. If you're not, that's fine too. I get it. We're just rambling, talking on, and stuff like that. And then Super Bowl 51, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots completed the largest comeback in Super Bowl history to clinch the franchise and Brady's 5th Super Bowl title 7 years ago today. They were like losing 28-3 and then came back and won. Liam. I do remember Liam. Yeah. Well, welcome back, Liam. We were talking all kinds of random stuff today, Black History Month, and then we're talking about construction of high rises and things of yesteryear versus today and all the rules and regulations that go into that. Yeah. But, okay. And then, 91 years ago today, Hank Aaron, one of baseball's greatest players and the only Major League Baseball batter to hit 30 or more home runs in 15 seasons. Aaron also conquered one of the sport's most cherished records, Babe Ruth's 714th career home run. For the next 30 years, Hammer and Hank reigned as the all-time home run king with his total of 755 until it was passed by a steroid-enhanced performer in 2007. Who was the guy that did that? That caused all that controversy? Gosh, what was his name? And it was a big thing at the time. Like, oh, he beat Hank Aaron's record. But they later found out that he was, jacked up on steroids and he had like a cork-filled bat and all kinds of other things. You guys are good at answering those questions. Who was the guy that he played for the Giants? And he ended up beating Hank Aaron's record in 2007, but he was hopped up on steroids. Hank Aaron wasn't. Those are organic home runs. Who was the guy? Who's the guy that beat him? And nobody's going to answer that question for me? Hank Aaron played for 21 seasons. And for the Atlanta Braves, they're actually a Hank Aaron stamp at the post office is out right now, too. Oh, and this day in 1936, Charlie Chaplin released the last ever silent movie in modern times. He played for the Giants. I can't think of the player's name that beat Hank Aaron in 2007. Nobody knows the answer to that one? I got to Google that one too. Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds did it. But he was like all up on Barry Bonds beat it, but they later found out that he was using all kinds of steroids. And and I think they let it stand, but I don't think it's fair because Hank Aaron didn't use steroids. He may have eaten his Wheaties. To be the strong athlete that he is, just knocking those things out of the park. Yeah. But that was back in. Let's see here. I don't know what happened to Barry Bonds and all that stuff. If they stripped him of the title. What was the one Babe Ruth, who got kicked out of the Hall of Fame and all that stuff because he did gambling and they never would let him back into they would never put him in the Baseball Hall of Fame because they disbanded him for gambling on games. I was like, damn, that's some strict rules for some baseball. It wasn't Babe Ruth, it was it wasn't Babe Ruth. One of those baseball players that did really well, and then he got basically ostracized, kicked out of Major League Baseball for life. Couldn't get in the Hall of Fame or nothing, and that's because he was gambling as a coach for a baseball team. Look that one up too. I remember random crap. This is the most useless garbage that I can remember. Dun, 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 dun. Barry Bonds won't be because he used steroids. Um, I'm trying. There's all kinds of people in here that won't be. That'll never be in the Hall of Fame. There's one famous one that people are like, they should. Pete Rose. Pete Rose. That's his name. Pete Rose will never be in the Hall of Fame because of his gambling. Yep. He played from 53 to 86. He was part of the Cincinnati Reds. And then yeah. So he got banned from ineligible from the Hall of Fame to his ban from baseball for betting on games while he was the coach of the team. He met all the qualifications for the Hall of Fame, and people were upset about it, saying that he should be in the Hall of Fame. But Major League Baseball was like, nope, not going to happen. You're not getting in the Hall of Fame. Well, we talked about all kinds of stuff today. It's 7:45. It's time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out. I really appreciate it. We had Squish came in. Haven't seen him in a while. Ray hung out with us this morning, which is unusual because he's a nighttime guy. But thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. It's Wednesday. I hope you have a great day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be. Like, subscribe, share the videos, watch the other ones that I have, and compliment a stranger. You might make somebody smile. All right, guys. Have yourself a good day. I'll talk to you all later. See you tomorrow. Let me get this thing turned off again.